stuck in the mail. Stuck in the mail. Stuck in the mail. Hello, it's the Stuck in the Mail podcast. My name is Mike. That's Casey. Today,
Hello.
we are talking about the 11th, yes, I said 11th album by Elvis Costello, aka Declan McManus, aka Napoleon Dynamite, aka, what did he call himself on this album? Hang on, I've got it. Iman Singer. This is his album from 1986 called Blood and Chocolate. Yes, he painted that beautiful cover art as well. And here he is, the one and only Napoleon Dynamite.
Yup.
So there's
Wow.
that whole thing. There's the whole
Yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite thing.
Do we start there?
Let's start there.
Okay.
Well, okay, let me start here, actually. So it took me a while to get into Elvis Costello. It's a bit of a sort of highbrow pop rock sort of sensibility. It's not necessarily what I would like reach for, or at least until I got into this album, I would never like reach for Elvis Costello. I always respected him as a songwriter, but I didn't like know his stuff outside of like Allison and maybe a couple others. What about you? What's your experience with him?
You nailed it. I mean, he's lyrically heavy. I think that's what he's like a punk folk lyric writer. Like his songs, he was kind of considered that first album, My Aim Is True. Some people say is one of the best debuts.
Mhm.
He's very British. He's a British Dylan, Morrison, whatever you want to say about him. That's been written already. My opinion is I really like his pop stuff and I really like the Attractions stuff. And I do like that first album, which is not the Attractions. But yeah, I'm a fan. I like Patrick or Declan Patrick.
I think what I like about the lyrics are really dense, really cool to read. I think I really appreciate his sense of like the chord progressions and the harmony. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of looking some of these songs up, and he does some really interesting things. He often goes to the this is like super music theory, but I'm like, what is that chord? So I looked it up. It's the six major. Like normally you'd have the six minor. So like if you're in the key of G, then you would play an E minor, and those sound really good together. But
Right.
he does a six major, so he's playing in the key of G. He'll go to the E major, which then goes. It just goes. It's like I think that's sort of the secret sauce of at least a couple of these songs. Is he has these sort of Elvis Costello chords that no one else is doing in a pop song. And I think
Definitely.
that's what kind of hooks me, but I sort of have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, I'm excited to talk about Blood and Chocolate, but I do prefer his previous work. I think that this is maybe the one of his last great ones. I mean, he had more great songs, but this one, I read somewhere that this was like the 32-year-old divorcee's version of My Aim Is True, or maybe it was this year's model. And I mean, those albums are so digestible. I'm
Yeah.
such a fan of probably this year's model. I love the pop beat in that one, and it comes off as one of the great, I guess, British pop punk albums, in my opinion.
Well,
Like,
and the ones you mentioned are all really, really highly regarded, and
mhm.
they're great albums. The only reason I know about this one, it is a kind of a later era Elvis Costello album. The only reason
It-
I know about it is, I went through the Rolling Stone Top 500. Then I went through the new version of the Rolling Stone Top 500, listened to all the ones they added, which was significant. A lot of Beyonce added in the second version. Uh, and then I was like, I got to get a British take on this. So I listened to the NME New Musical Express
Mhm.
Top 500. Well, this was like 483 or something on the NME list. That's the only reason I even came across it. And I think I was sort of interested in the whole Napoleon Dynamite thing and trying to like figure out that aspect of it. But then I just started listening to the songs some more. And so what makes this album a little bit unique for Elvis Costello is that it was recorded apparently at concert level volume. So I mean, they were just blasting these songs, and you can tell because his
You can tell.
vocals, they're kind of raw and raucous, and the whole thing feels like it's not that he's shouting, but it's how you would sing if you were on stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost yeah. It doesn't have a live feel, but his vocal like all of a sudden will like break out through his own vocal
Yeah.
louder. It can be a disrupting album to listen to in the car or something, or certainly on headphones. Not that I did that, but yeah,
Mhm.
it has a strange recording element to it, and
Yeah.
definitely something worth bringing up. And it's a pretty it's not a raw album. I mean, it's well produced.
Yeah.
Some of the attractions work. I feel super remiss not mentioning. I don't know the guys by name, but I just feel like there's such a great band.
Yeah.
Love the bass work. Oh, it's constantly every time I hear the attractions, I'm like, oh my gosh, that bass player. And they really groove,
Yeah.
and they work. They work to back him.
Totally.
And
Yeah. There's a lot of sort of McCartney-esque bass work I
yeah,
noticed on this one. Here's a Wikipedia quote for you. That's pretty interesting, I think. Blood and Chocolate was recorded in a single large room at high volume, with the band listening to each other on monitor speakers and playing at stage volume, an unusual practice in the studio for its time. As
yeah.
Costello recalled, Nick Lowe was producing us for the first time in 5 years, and together with engineer Colin Fairley, agreed to an approach that would get the music recorded before the band and I fell out completely.
Apparently, it's an end of an era for that lineup.
Yeah,
It's the beginning of a 16-year relationship and era for him and his wife, ex-Pogues bassist, speaking of bassists, Kate Reardon. That's my best Irish
that's
pronunciation there.
good.
And apparently, also, we're not going to go into this too much, but the album is also entitled to her. Blood and Chocolate is making a reference to a certain demand of hers during a certain time, apparently.
I did not realize that.
You can read into that. You didn't? Oh shoot. Well, wow, the sun is flashing through my window here at awkward times.
Yeah, that's a very dramatic effect you've got going on.
I timed it out with the sun and the foliage outside the side window here quite well. But yeah, Blood and Chocolate, it apparently refers to a demand by her during her time of the month.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So
Um,
the whole album is about their relationship, and that was just beginning. And she's appears on two songs,
mhm,
and she's not a really big part of the album, but I feel that a lot of the songs are written with her in mind,
yeah.
and have a lot of the emotions that Elvis Costello were going through at the time, which were numerous and most likely difficult because of the entanglements with the infamous Irish band of rogues, the Pogues.
Yes, and you may have already said this, but Costello had just produced Rome
Yes.
Sodomy and the Lash like the year before.
And toured with them. So yeah,
And
but
then
the quick
uh
thing is apparently the Pogues were always stealing and drinking all his beer.
and
So he
then
stole the bases.
and then Kat O'Riordan left the Pogues
Yes.
and hooked up and teamed up with Costello.
Yeah. Yep. And married. Yeah.
All right. So that's
Yep.
um
That's a very short version, but very important because this album really is, you know, the start of a 16-year relationship. That's
mhm.
a great flub. I'm just flubbing them up left and right here.
Oh, you're good. So let's kind of jump into some songs here. So what do you think about the first one, Uncomplicated?
Well, I did a little research here. It is his take at a one-note song. That's why it's
Ah,
called Uncomplicated, and it's just one chord noise. He's playing his Telecaster, I think, on this album. And yeah, it's an interesting one.
it is. I find that his singing, he doesn't do this on any other song that I know of, but he almost has like this Hendrix sort of style to it. He's like, uncomplicated. It's like that. It sounds like something, I don't know if it was
I
supposed
notice
to
it
be
now.
inspired by Hendrix, but it's like every line ends with that thing.
That just sounds like Elvis Costello to me, but I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it seems like an homage to some degree. of him.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's an interesting take. I mean, it's a it's an interesting opener.
I
We'll see if
find
we
that
find
this
something there.
album, I actually prefer the B side
Yeah, yeah,
to a large degree. I like, I mean, there's some great, well-crafted songs. I Hope You're Happy Now. Really great. Tokyo Storm Warning is great.
yeah,
It probably is about 2 minutes too long, in my opinion.
yeah.
That one feels very Dylan-esque, it feels like Subterranean Homesick Blues, something like that. Some very off the wall lyrics on that one. But we have to talk about I Want You.
Oh boy. Well, I learned this morning that the it kind of has two songs in it, and the beginning is kind of a remake of a Japanese folk song, and that's kind of before it goes, for better lack of a word, what we talked about earlier with his voice being louder than his normal voice at parts. But yeah, completely unhinged, I guess. In his own words, it's a very crazy love song, crazed psychopath love song. It's not one that he's proud of, I think. It's one that's very popular. I'm staring at it right now, and it has way more plays on Spotify than anything else. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
the
a catchy. It's also crazy.
yeah, it's definitely from the point of view of someone who is not well.
Yes, yes, yes. And I don't really get the feels that it has, a true, real narrative in it, like it's about Kate or anything. I think it fits in the scope of these songs that have the emotions he went through with her and with their relationship starting and everything. But I don't feel like it's a true, I feel like it's a piece of fiction.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I mean, he's pretty crazy. I can't think of a crazier like love song per se off the top of my head than I Want You. It's really something, and it's the
I,
standout.
so yes, this definitely is one of those songs that makes the album unique, I would say.
Yeah. And is that I don't actually know. Is that the first song on side B or is that the last song on side A? Do you have that info?
It is the last song on side A.
Okay.
Yep.
Good
Or
deal.
as it's written
That
here,
makes sense.
Blanco Uno.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So speaking of side B, my favorite
Yep.
side,
Yep.
Blue Chair, probably my
Yeah.
favorite song on the album. I love the like sort of Christmas chimes in the
Yeah, I
background.
found something on it too.
What
Uh,
you
this is from Elvis Costello. I didn't send you this morning, but this is him writing on this album. It says Blue Chair was given a treatment borrowed from the Prince songs Manic Monday, which of course he wrote for the Bangles,
Uh-huh.
and Raspberry Beret.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's got a Prince feel.
Yeah,
It is a good one.
to me, it's got those interesting chords to it, fantastic melody, just so well
Yep.
crafted. And then you get to the bridge and it just goes into another gear. So satisfying when it comes back to the melody after the bridge. I just think this is totally underrated
Yep.
masterpiece of a song that nobody knows.
Yep. I agree. It's one of my picks too. Uh,
So
and
fun
then
to sing.
probably my last pick, if I got to pick one. I don't know the songs by the titles as well, but it's definitely Poor Napoleon, uh,
Yeah,
which
so
is a really
let's
quirky one.
let's talk about that. So I love Poor Napoleon. What an interesting, crazy song. So let's talk about this whole Napoleon Dynamite thing.
Yep.
So apparently, Napoleon Dynamite was his alter ego, one of many, but it was the alter ego as master of ceremonies for the attraction's Spinning Songbook Tour.
Hmm.
Uh, and of course, it was then the character was created by Jared Hess, the director of the movie Napoleon Dynamite. Hess states, this is from a fan site, Elvis Costello
Huh.
fan site. Hess states that he was not aware of Costello's use of the name until 2 days before the end of shooting when he was
Wow.
informed by a teenage extra.
Huh.
So here's my theory.
Wow.
I think that I think it was a subconscious thing that Hess had probably heard the name somewhere and just
Maybe.
like remembered it but didn't remember it. You know what I mean?
I guess. I mean, I remembered how it's featured on the cover, and it says it doesn't even say Napoleon Dynamite. It says Napo Dyna, but on the
Right.
back, I had forgotten that he is listed as Napoleon Dynamite. Now I knew that was an alias, and I mean, obviously, Elvis Costello is someone who is comfortable with using aliases. And I probably would be too if my name was Declan McManus. So, yeah, I mean, it's fun. A coincidence? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's possible. It seems like maybe it's something Hess came up with. He's like, oh, shoot, I got caught here. So, movie's in the can and it's ready to go. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I think they're two completely separate entities, obviously. I don't even know if there's any crossover. Sarah asked me, my wife, she said, well, does he use any Elvis Costello in the movie? And I was like, well, certainly nothing off Blood and Chocolate. It wouldn't be appropriate at all. Maybe he could have used something off My Aim Is True, or even better yet, this year's Model, or, Armed Forces is another good one. I
I do
keep throwing out
see
my favorite Elvis stuff.
I do see sort of a weird cosmic connection. Stay with me here. So you know the you know the
Let's have it.
final scene of Napoleon Dynamite where they're playing tetherball
Yes.
and the
But
credits roll and it's a great ending.
But
So
what's the song that plays there? Is it The Promise? No,
that's
that's Prom.
no, that's the promise. The promise
Okay.
uh by When in Rome. We just talked about it on
Yeah.
another.
Yeah. Yeah. Last episode.
So that's when that song is playing. It's a great moment. I love the tetherball. It's fantastic. Well, I love in the song Poor Napoleon, which by the way is a masterpiece of self-pity. I love self-pity songs,
Yeah.
kind of like a Morrissey sort of thing, like Woe is me. Uh, it has some great lines, such as one of my favorites, "You always look so disappointed when I take my stockings off."
Yep. Yep.
But anyway,
Yep.
where am I going with this? Uh, okay, the final line of the song. One day they'll probably make a movie out of all of this.
Yes. Yes.
There won't even have to be a murder, just a slow dissolving kiss. So to me, that's the tetherball.
Okay. 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 A
It makes
country
me
that's
think of
doing
the tetherball.
best. I got you. I got you. Well, I mean, I love the movie. When it came out, I almost died. I remember when I saw it, I was like, wow, that guy really reminds me of Brian Tiemann.
Yeah,
But then
it's a combination
obviously
of me, my brother, and you.
yes, thank you for saying that because the more I got away from it, the more I saw it, it became less funny, but I still loved it. But the more I watched it, I was like, oh no, it's me. It's me. I felt more and more like it was me, kind of dumb, kind of like braggadocious, but kind of loser guy, tall, big teeth. I was like, oh
Well,
no, it's me. It's not
it,
Brian at all. It is a mix up of all three of us, probably.
well, and it's so much more than just that. It's our whole youth. I mean, it's this whole like
Yeah.
small town in the Northwest, like
You guys had chickens, you lived in the country.
yeah. And I was like halfway through the movie, I was like, I Mormons definitely made this movie. And sure enough,
Yeah.
that's a big part of
Yeah.
our town as well. So anyway, all very interesting.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
it's something.
what about Battered Old Bird? Now that's a heck of a song.
I'm still on I probably don't recall enough, but I gotta say for Poor Napoleon, the takeaways for me, I remember both those lyrics, but I love the bass in it because it's just like abrupt and over everything. It's like boom, 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 no, 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 no. And that's just I love that. I love a
Hmm.
good bass riff. And the other thing is Kate O'Riordan sings on this one, and she's the one that cuts in really overdubbed bad twice and just goes, Poor Napoleon. It just terrible.
Oh,
I don't know why
Napoleon.
she did that. So weird. So weird. And she's a great singer. So to like kind of waste her talent so
Yeah,
poorly there, I don't know what is going on.
it's definitely strange. I'm glad that you like that song too, because it's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. We've already covered the songs that I have real notes on.
Well, so
Yeah, Battered Old Bird.
Crimes of Paris is the other one that has Cat
Yep.
Riordan. Um,
That's right. Yep.
and that's probably the one that actually stood out to me first. I mean, Blue Chair is my favorite, but Crimes of Paris kind of feels like Blue Chair a little bit. But again, incredible melody, Love the harmonies. Love the fact that she actually sings and doesn't just say
Yeah.
"Poor Napoleon."
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I
I
got a bullet
love
on
this.
that actually. I
I,
got quotes apparently it quotes his own song Suffering Face. And this is Elvis Costello's words. And he says it has bits of the Kinks, Slade, and slivers of Wild Mountain Time. Now, I don't even know what that is. I assume it's another one of his songs.
I think that's
So,
like a traditional folk song.
yeah, it must be. I mean,
So
that's one of the things with Costello is he is considered, I think that for me, I had a hard time getting into him because he's one of those quintessential British musicians, I guess Irish technically. Because isn't he Irish? I mean, Declan McManus.
on some level, sure.
Yeah, on some pretty serious levels. And we should probably end on this, but I'll make the point that it would take someone like Declan here to be from where he's from in order to use Elvis, because Elvis basically had just died when he started using the Elvis moniker in 77 or 76 or whatever. And no one in America was going to do that. So
Yeah, it's true.
it's kind of an important thing because it, obviously is a pretty lofty moniker and a half. So
Cool.
yeah.
Well,
Are we good or
yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had for this album. I just think that it is criminally underrated. Not to diminish any of his other masterpieces, but just as a songwriter, I think that if someone other than like if anyone else had created this, it would be uh, you know, regarded as a masterpiece. But the fact that he has all these other records that are more famous, this one just kind of gets forgotten. And I wanted to shine a little light on it. If you're watching, listening, and you've never heard this one, give it a try. The whole Napoleon Dynamite thing is all very strange and very interesting. And this is apparently kind of where it started.
basically I caught you this delicious bass?
The most
Anywho,
quotable movie of all time.
yes, yes. I remember when I saw that in the theater in Arcata, actually, at the time. The whole movie, with the exception of that weird movie. I can't even name the actor, but the guy from Harry Potter, what's his name?
Radcliffe.
Radcliffe. His movie that he did where he is a corpse. It's called Swiss Army Man. That's the only other movie where I've laughed so consistently hard in the theater that I was dying and I felt ashamed, but luckily everyone was laughing with me. And if you've never seen Swiss Army Man, check it out. I don't think you can relive the experience of the theater laughter, but yeah, those two movies stand out for me. And so we're going to continue on this saga. I guess we kind of have been for a while here with the whole Napoleon Dynamite off of my pick from what did I do last time?
You're talking about Sturgill with The Promise.
Yeah, yeah, The Promise, which is in the Napoleon Dynamites. I knew there was some tie in there. It's pretty small, but nevertheless, we're gonna go to what Elvis Costello was doing right before this, when he was producing the notorious Irish folk punk group, the Pogues here, and their Raft of Medusa. Um, and their second album, Rum Sodomy and the Lash, which is a Churchill quote. And from what I understand, we zoom in here. This severed head right here, I believe, is Kate O'Riordan. So, because these are the Pogues. So we'll get more into the drama of that and what happened and fun stuff and its fantastic album next time.
Great. Well, thank you, Casey. I had
All
fun.
righty.